Good morning, or good afternoon, actually, everyone. We usually do these in the morning, but this is a special occasion because we have a presenter today that's going to be joining us for three sessions. This is the first of three, and we're doing it today in the afternoon. I want to introduce you to Kyle Bora. He is a state employee with ITSD. He's actually an associate app developer, and he'll explain a little bit more about himself in a minute, but wanted to let you know that this is one of three sessions he'll be joining us on. Two of them after this will be on website accessibility, kind of some fundamentals about making a website accessible. And the second one will be a demonstration on using a screen reader. And so today is kind of the precursor, I think, is what we talked about for building some specific foundations. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Kyle.
Hello everyone, my sharing should come up here in a second. So as Eileen said, this is all about alt text. A little bit of an outline for what we're going to go over today. We're going to have some introductions, and I'll tell you what alt text is, and we're going to go over some do's and don'ts with alt text, and we're going to have some very nice demos by Eileen. And we're going to talk about where AI, artificial intelligence, and ML, machine learning, comes in with alt text. And then we're going to wrap it up, and obviously we're going to let anyone ask any questions, not only at the end, but anytime you wish to, just drop it in the chat, and Eileen will ask it for me. So about me, as Eileen said, I am an associate applications developer with the Department Office of Administration with the state of Missouri. It's the ITSD, which stands for Information Technology Service Desk. Basically, it's a fancy name for there's a bunch of groups that work with different departments of the government. And so I work with the Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development, sort of the little tiny baby brother of DESE. Everyone thinks of DESE, no one thinks of the Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development. So I am blind. I've had the condition I have all my life. It's a degenerative condition, and so I have had better vision previously when I was younger, but very quickly in middle school into high school, I had to start relying on a screen reader and mostly Braille or audio versions of any textbooks, worksheets, etc. And that's how I do my job today. Developing software, writing code is through a screen reader. And a basic understanding of a screen reader, for anyone that doesn't know, again, we'll be doing more talks on a screen reader probably in October, maybe a little bit in September, but mostly October. A screen reader is basically a computer program that not only outputs speech, but can also output Braille of whatever's on your computer screen for someone who's blind or visually impaired. Most things work. Good portion of the web is very accessible. Apps can be very accessible. If it matters to anyone, the screen reader that I'm going to be using now and for the demos and just in general is NVDA, which stands for Non-Visual Desktop Access. It's a free free Windows screen reader. I also use the built-in narrator in Windows 10 as a backup when NVDA fails, and it was failing on PowerPoint for me earlier, so hopefully it doesn't fail now. Fingers crossed. Testing the presentation gods today.
Yep. Now, Kyle, we aren't seeing the presentation.
You're not seeing the presentation. That
Yeah.
is a problem.
Try one more time. I can always grab it and share it on my end if you need.
There we go. I should be sharing now.
You are. Thank you.
Try to get back into sharing. Sorry. Is that wanting me to share it? Do the power display. There we go. Okay. Not that it matters, but there was the picture I showed earlier. Sorry you guys couldn't see it. We had the outline and about me. We already talked about that. So let's get on to the meat and potatoes of everything. So what is alt text? Alt text is a textual, usually short description of a visual element on the screen, usually images, for blind people and other people that may or may not be able to see your image for whatever reason. We'll get more into that in a little bit, but that's the main thing, is basically a video image description. Again, alt text can show in place of an image. If a browser can't display the image, like if you're in a low bandwidth situation, or they have images turned off. I personally haven't seen this. I guess I probably could experiment on a web page with turning off images, but thankfully all my images load on the page. Unfortunately, sometimes too many images on the page. And when you do add alt text, it does improve search engine optimization, or SEO. If you're not familiar with search engine optimization, it's a technique that you can use. You basically add keywords to your website for the Google search engine, all the search engines to they'll basically crawl the internet with their spider bots and see your website and search your website for its content and these keywords you provide, and that gives Google information about what your website's about, the kind of content you post, and so they'll use all of that with a whole bunch of other secret things that Google doesn't want to give up, of how they rank search results. And if they see two similar typed blogs and such that have one with a bunch of images that don't have alt text and one with a bunch of images that do have alt text, providing differences in other factors that roll into search engine optimization, it will generally rank the blog/website with images with alt text over the one not with alt text, because that provides a more accessible experience for everyone. And we'll get into a little bit more about that in a couple other slides. But it's very useful, like I said, to give that other information to people that can't see the image of what's going on in the image. And it can help you in those search results. The guidelines for what and where and how to include alt text are laid out in the WCAG 2.0. People call it WCAG. It is the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines 2.0. It is kind of the end all be all of everything web and accessibility. It does extend into other things like mobile apps, but its main focus is the web. And in the 1.1 text alternatives guidelines and the 1.1.1 non-text alternative guidelines, that basically details everything to do with alt text and when to include it. It's basically whenever you have a non-text element, you need to provide text that basically gives the blind person or someone who can't see your image the equivalent information or understanding of a sighted person who could see that image. And there are some restrictions or are some things that don't apply. You don't need to include alt text on. You do have to include it on all images. You don't have to include it on logos. And there are some images that aren't necessary to include alt text. For example, if you have a travel blog and you always have at the top of your every post you make on wherever you go, you have like an image of you went to Seattle, and so you post an image of the Seattle skyline, or you go to New York and you post an image of the New York skyline. Well, your whole blog or your whole post is about the fact you went to Seattle or New York. You don't maybe necessarily have to say, this is a picture of the Seattle skyline. I think people will get the fact that the whole post is about Seattle and your trip to Seattle. That may not be necessary. It's still nice to include, though. And also there are situations where the equivalent alt text description is already in the paragraph or your text content. You don't necessarily want to be duplicating everything in your post, from your post into your alt text, and we'll get to more of that in a second. But if the image is adequately described in the content of your post, you don't need to necessarily add alt text. Again, it's still good and still nice habit and a good practice, but it's not necessary. And I do, in my references, I will have a link to the whole WCAG accessibility guidelines, and so that's a link available if someone wants to peruse that and learn more in general about web accessibility. But just the 1.1 and 1.1.1 sections apply specifically to alt text. And so where does alt text show up? As I said before, it shows up on the web in any IMG tags. That's a specific tag for images if you're manually coding your website. If you have a WordPress or some sort of content management system, like, I can't think of what that's called. Crap. I should have looked this up. What's that thing? But WebEx is a main thing. And if you're adding images to your WordPress blog, you still should add images if you're able to. They also will come up in any interfaces of an app. For example, buttons. Buttons are actually an interesting thing when it comes to alt text, because you wouldn't necessarily think of buttons being an image and then they're needing alt text. But buttons will have text on them, and that may be good enough to let a blind person know if the screen reader can read the button with the text of what's going on. But a lot of buttons nowadays, especially with websites that are turning more into apps, and they're having interfaces that look more like applications, they have buttons with just symbols, like the ... button, or a left and right seek arrow button, or the play pause button that's just a triangle. those symbols don't necessarily mean anything. Well, you still have to label those. And while that's not strictly alt text, it's still giving a blind person that added information of that symbol of whatever you're using to represent that element. So that's important too. And then, of course, with social media content, the any image you post on social media, and we'll get to that in some of the demos. If you can, try and give that an alt text description. It is very helpful to myself and other blind people that are browsing social media. Again, a lot of times the image may be what's the right word? The image may be only in supplement to the post, and you may not need to add a description. You get everything with the nature of the post. But especially on Twitter, I know a lot of times the image is just the post, or the post text is very short, and the main joke or the main point of your post is in the image. And that's really where alt text shines, is when you can provide that added additional description to those people that can't see the picture. So some do's. Keep it short and sweet. I don't write a whole paragraph in your alt text. Don't editorialize. You want your content, your blog post, your website to do the speaking. The alt text is just a short description. Give essential information. Describe what you see. And unless necessary, don't describe images. The best word to describe. Don't ascribe images. Don't ascribe emotions to the people in your images. Basically, report what you see. Don't assume things about the photo. And the descriptions are interesting because different people will want different things. Some people that are completely blind from birth and have never had vision may not care anything about the colors. They just want to know there's a person standing here, and there's such and such background, and they might be smiling. Maybe a little description about the person, I'm not sure. But someone like myself who has had sight and still has a little bit of sight may want to know, they're wearing a red shirt, they're doing they have this facial expression, they look surprised, and again that might be a little situational where you might want to include an emotion, but basically keep it simple. Describe what you see. You can describe colors and such like that, but people do want to see different things in their alt text, but in the long run, unfortunately, you're never going to satisfy everyone. So just like I said, keep it simple and get the point across. And the last thing is, definitely, if there's any text in your images, I see this a lot on Twitter with source code. People post screenshots of code, and they don't include the alt text, or they don't include the text of whatever they're picturing in the alt text. That's a big thing. And it's not even just source code. It's just anything. Anytime there's text, include it in your alt text description. Very, very helpful. So some don'ts. I already said some of these a little bit, so sorry for the repeats, but it's worth going over again. Especially don't say image of, picture of, as we'll see in the demo. Whatever screen reader someone's using, it will already tell them that that's an image or a graphic or a picture or whatever it uses. There's no need to restate the fact that it's a picture. It's just redundant information. Again, don't editorialize. Leave the editorializing to your post, to your content. let your content shine there. Don't put that in alt text unless it's really necessary. Don't assume or read into an image. Sort of like I said, keep it simple. Describe what you see, and don't use your alt text as a word salad for search engine optimization. Like I said before, I've seen times where that's happened. They just put a whole list of words that are related to the photo, related to their blog, related to their post, but it's mainly for search engine optimization. It's not giving any information of what's in the photo, etc. And it's not helpful. So this is an example of the IMG tag on a website. And the attribute that gives you your alt text description is the alt tag. And so that is the description I gave. And I saw Eileen gave a little description up here too. And so I do play beep ball. It's basically a modified version of baseball for the blind. And we just had the Beat Baseball World Series in Beaumont, Texas at the end of July. And so I thought that was a cool photo from it. Yeah. And so now we have the demo from Eileen, and we're going to go over some social media, how to post images on social media with alt text.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. It's nice to have a background of the do's and the don'ts when you're using that screen reader to understand what it's saying to you before you actually get to what we, type in. So that's super helpful. Mm-hmm. Throughout the years, I know I've heard do's and don'ts, but really there's, like you said, there's been a variety of opinions of do's and don'ts. So I appreciate what you've said. Mm-hmm. So let's go. I'm going to start with Facebook, because I think most of the agencies and groups that are on here, I think they have a Facebook post. That's kind of the predominant social media platform that most people use. And I'm going to move into our Missouri Assistive Technologies Facebook page. I'm sorry, I'm trying to minimize everything so I can see okay, I'm all set for what I need to do. So with Facebook, there's like 3 different ways someone can actually create a post. One of them is if you have just a regular personal Facebook account, and for a business page post, this is going to look very similar. It's typically going to be at the very top of your page, and it's usually prompting you to say what's on your mind. So that's where you would begin to create a post, and that's where you would access your photo. The other place could be in the business function. Sorry, there's a lot of little messages here. It's called the Meta Business Suite, and we'll pop in there in a second. And that's if you're using their tools to schedule out posts, and I'll show you how that works. But that is slightly different than how we would handle a regular post on Facebook. Facebook offers artificial intelligence. And so what that means is it's going to try and guess what your photo is. And if you do not put alt text with your photo, this information Facebook has assumed is what's going to be read by a screen reader. And it's still new. And so a lot of times it's not very accurate, or it's incomplete, or it's very general. So the best, practice is to actually create your own. And so I'm going to show you how you can do that. So you would go in and you would create your own post. I'm going to do that here. Okay, so I'm just writing a quick little statement that a stack of pancakes is great to start the day, because my photo is going to be that of actual pancakes. And I'm going to use the same photo for most of the posts that we're doing here. And we're going to do one thing before we jump into the details of how to add alt text to Facebook, and that is study the photo a little bit. But let's get into the photo so you can see it. With Facebook, there's a little button that says edit with a pencil. If I scroll up just a little bit, I scrolled up too much. Now there's a little scroll bar there. You can see it. That's where you want to activate your box. And it's going to open up the photo. Here's a new box that allows you to edit your photo, crop and rotate and do all these fun things to change up the way the picture looks. We want to get to the alternative text to add that. Before we jump in there, I want you just to kind of look at that photo and in your mind, think about how you might be describing this photo. What is it that is descriptive about this photo? So as you're studying that, I'm going to move into the alt text section for a Facebook post. And there's going to be two sections here. One is the automatically generated, the artificial intelligence description. And then there's an empty box down here where you can add your custom alt text. If we didn't add anything, the post is going to say, the alt text will say, maybe an image of food. And that's what it is, it's food, but we'd like it to be more descriptive. And so this is kind of what I came up with. I don't know if it's close to what you were thinking, but I'm saying the alt text to be a stack of thick pancakes on a white dish covered in dripping maple syrup. Sausages and maple syrup container are in the background. And in this situation, we just go ahead and save the post here on Facebook. And if you're finished with your description of your post, then all you need to do is post it. And it'll take a second and it'll be published. And then I'm going to turn over the share screen to Kyle, and he's going to read what we just posted so that you can hear how that alt text sounds with a screen reader.
Okay.
And we're going to do that. We're going to jump back and forth in between each social media platform. And that's kind of how we're going to do it this afternoon.
Stop share.
I'll do
Live
the alt text
transcription.
demo, and then he's going to read it for you with the screen reader.
Yes. And you said you did that on Facebook, Eileen?
Facebook, right.
Top
And it's
MO
gonna
at
be-
Eileen, Missouri Assistive Technology Facebook Google. Participants can
Okay. So you should be seeing my screen share.
Visited
and
link
you should
Facebook.
be hearing my NVDA. I tried to slow it down a little bit and pick a little bit more intelligible voice. The voice settings I use are very fast and not a very nice voice to listen to. It's not a very human voice. And so this is just a very quick demo of this. If you want more information or interested more in some of the screen reader aspects of this, we will be going over that in October. So a little tease there. But we're on Facebook. I'm going to go to the top of the page with Control Home.
Visited link Facebook.
And one main way for blind people using a screen reader to navigate the website is by headings. And you access headings by going to a web page and pressing the H key. That's majority of the time what someone with a screen reader is going to do when they go to your website. So I'm going to do that now.
Main landmark Missouri Assistive Technology heading level 1.
So that's just the Missouri Assistive Technology page. Says it's a main landmark, heading level 1.
Intro heading level 2.
Intro at heading level 2.
Photos link heading.
Oh, and I might need to refresh the page.
Missouri click. Main intro heading. Photos link heading level
and
2.
then we have photos. That's a whole section itself.
Missouri Assistive Technology link heading level 2.
And it looks like here we come to posts.
0 comments heading level 3.
And so we're getting into the main post, and the first thing it came to is the comments.
Heading level 2 link Missouri Assistive Technology.
I'm using down arrow now. That's another way to navigate the web page.
Link 7 HRS. Graphic shared with public. A great example of recycling at
And this is not the right post. I don't
Missouri.
think.
0 comments. Missouri Assistive. Link 2 minutes.
Oh, here we go. I just missed it. So the first post posted 2 minutes ago.
Graphic shared with public. A stack of pancakes is great to start the day.
That's the post content. A stack of pancakes is great to start the day.
Link graphic. A stack of thick pancakes on a white dish covered in dripping maple syrup.
And
Sausages and the maple. Link graphic syrup container are in the background.
So Eileen already read the description. I won't read it again, but I'll point out the fact that it said a link graphic, and it's saying that that's a link. You can click on it and probably view the picture bigger and do whatever you want with it. But it also said graphic, and so that's another. Like I said, the screen reader will say
From Gabrielle
that the content that you're on, for the most part, especially if the website's coded well and implements accessibility properly, it should say that it's a graphic or an image. And so, again, there's no need to say the fact that it's a image. But yeah, Facebook definitely does a good job of letting a blind person read the description. And we'll get a little bit more into the AI machine learning side of the image alt text in a little bit. But that's the Facebook post. Good description. I'm hungry now. I want pancakes.
Miranda French.
Thank you. Makes me hungry.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to do a couple more things. And I did see we had a question in the chat, and we'll go back to that. But what I want to point out, so that is if you're just going to post straight on their platform. Now, what if, like I mentioned earlier, they have this business suite where you can schedule out your posts. This is how I handle it because I have multiple responsibilities in our agency, not just social media. So I do schedule things out in advance, and I use this planner. What is important for you to know is the alt text feature is not available through this planner. So how I handle that when I'm adding a photo, just the photo, not links or just content, but when I'm attaching a photo, is that I will add a photo description. And that's what I recommend. This is kind of the old school way we used to do it before alt text was available to add to a photo. And I just use that as the starting point. So photo description : and then I have a description of the photo. And that only stays here with the post content. The photo itself has nothing behind it. But when it's published, then let me scoot back out of here. When I publish that, assuming that that is the same as what I just posted earlier this morning, this is a very kind of similar situation where I have the photo description here on the content for this lady that's using a knee scooter. And so now my job is to go back and clean that up because I do want to make it alt text. And Facebook allows you to go in and edit your photos, and that includes alt text. So we go to the post, and where the three little dots are, you're going to select them, and you're going to edit the post. And I'm not editing the photo yet. I'm just grabbing this information. I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to just cut this out with Control X. And now I'm going to save that. So I've taken out that photo description so it's not redundant. And now I'm going to go in and I'm going to add that to the photo. So I've clicked on the photo so it opens that up wider. And now when I go to the three little dots, that's actually just connected to the photo, not the post itself. So when I click on that, it gives me the option to change alt text. You see that? And when you select that, you can see how it's already used the automatically generated option. It says maybe an image of one person standing indoor in text. And that really, the last part of that makes absolutely no sense. So for me, it's really important to get this out as soon as possible and put in the proper descriptions that are better for alt text. And so I've inserted that, I hit save, and now it's included. And for the sake of time, I don't know if we need to have Kyle read that, but you saw how it worked with Facebook with the first post we did. So that's going to be a time when using that photo description within the content of your photo is important. The only other time I would say it might be helpful is if you're using, say, an image of a flyer that has lots of text. You definitely want all of that information somewhere. And if it's an awful lot, adding it there might be helpful. All right, so I'm going to leave Facebook and I'm going to go into LinkedIn because there are some groups that use LinkedIn, and you might use that professionally. And if you're going to add a photo, that also needs to have alt text to it. So the posting process is very similar. You're going to just start a post, like what's on your mind. And you'll write whatever that content is. So I'm just saying test post for a training session on alt text. And you'll select add a photo. And again, I'm going to just grab our pancakes with syrup photo. And so when you do that, it has actually 3 little tabs here in this light gray against a white background. But when you tab over it or use your mouse to hover over it, it shows the different options. And it's going to be the 3rd one, alt text. Interestingly enough, it blacks out your whole photo. So make sure, again, before you get to this section to write your alt text, you have a concept of what you're going to fill in. It's nice that it gives you a little tip. I think most of all of them do that have the alt text feature. In social media platforms, they have a tip for how to write alt text. Oops, we don't want the woman on the scooter, sorry. I'm going to step back here and grab the other description again from a place that I have it saved.
It's still kind of amusing though that it completely blacks out the picture when you're going to add alt text, the place when you might actually want to look at the picture.
Exactly, because you can. It is very faint, but it's kind of ironic.
Yeah.
All right, so now here's the thing about LinkedIn. You have to hit save here. If you don't hit save, then it won't save what you typed in, and it will revert to the artificial intelligence. It takes time for it to process that. It does show up later. So if you don't put anything in there, it will do auto-generated text. Same thing that Facebook does. Facebook's instantaneous, but not LinkedIn. LinkedIn takes a little bit of time. So anyway, so I've got that inserted. I've saved it. I'm going to hit done. And I haven't posted it yet. That's all the steps just to get to that point. And now I'm going to publish it. And Kyle, if you want to go ahead and go to my LinkedIn and then just refresh that page, and then you'll be able to see it.
Yeah. Screen. There we go.
Stop share. Live
it's actually interesting when we're setting all of this up. I did not realize that LinkedIn had alt text descriptions. Am I still sharing?
Participants can now.
You are.
There it goes. Okay. It said stopped and then it said it was going. Okay. So I didn't know LinkedIn had alt text. Maybe I just was looking at posts too quickly and the alt text wasn't there. I'm not sure. I've never specifically seen alt text on LinkedIn, but I guess we're going to see it now.
Mainland.
So let's refresh the page.
Clickable heading left.
So again, here we are on LinkedIn.
1. Eileen Belton linked in Google Chrome.
And I'm just going to go down by headings again with H.
Main landmark list with 2 items. State of Missouri Office of Administration heading level 2. Roy Matheson and About heading level 2. Activity heading level 2. Experience heading level 2. 0 notification. Main landmark Eileen Belton heading level 1. First degree connection at program list with 2 items. Link heading level 2 State of Missouri. Link heading level 2 Roy Matheson and out of list list with 1 items. Link 221 connection out of list list with 2 State of Missouri Eileen Belton heading level 1. List with 2 items. State of Missouri banner landmark primary navigation main Roy activity head experience heading education licenses skills heading recommendation publications interests head complimentary join an advisor.
Where's your post?
It would be under the activity.
Join promoted main landmark publications interests heading level recommended skills heading license education experience activity heading level 221 followers button following list with 3 items. Link view full post list button heading level 3 Rossibel Martinez complimentary landmark advertisement for complimentary Maryville University Brian Haviland heading complimentary MS applied date join an advisory board.
Try refresh the page.
Linked clickable heading main feed post head complimentary join an advisory MS in data the best complimentary landmark Maryville University Brian Haviland heading level Sean Bora Greg Bora complimentary landmark
This is not cooperating with me.
MS in Data Science link. 1. Post no next heading. Clickable complementary out of find L. Link graphic Belden. Eileen Belden. At program coordinator. Link view full profile.
Let's try this. View full profile.
Complementary landmark button compose message. Ross Ibel Maryville Unit Brian Haviland Sean Borat. Complementary Dahlia Zachary Jason Folt Sean Ivy Katie Go people you may know list with Jeff Williams David Jeffrey out main list with 2 items Roy Matheson and about heading level 2 activity head 200 and button following list with 3 link view full post
That's it.
link view full post link view full post link view full link view link out of list with 3 items link view list 1 Eileen Belden.
Okay, here we go. Sorry about that, folks. Don't use LinkedIn very much on the desktop, and it was very insistent on me logging in. So now that you get to see my LinkedIn profile.
At program coordinate link view full profile at Eileen Belden at main land heading level 2 feed post link view button collapsed see more about Eileen Belden button collapsed clickable test post for a training session on alt text.
There is her post. She's again said as a test post for a training exercise.
Button graphic a stack of thick pancakes on a white dish covered in dripping maple syrup.
And again,
sausages and
I keep forgetting that second sentence.
Button.
But again, it says it's an image. It gives that description Eileen has.
Button graphic syrup container are in the background. Activate to.
And again, very very obvious that it's the alt text, and it's a good post when you can find it. And need to move on to next demo.
Thank you, Kyle. And stay on. So we have a question in the chat that says she notices when the Gateway Archers posted the same image we just shared, they included an image description as part of the post text rather than the behind the scenes alt text. Is there a benefit to doing both, or is that just an attempt to raise awareness for the use of alt text? And that's a really good question.
Yeah, I would definitely say it does do both, it does offer awareness. I think it was on Twitter, I think we'll get to this. If you hover your mouse over an image and the image has alt text, it will show that in like a pop-up. So that's another way to raise awareness. I'm not sure if any other websites do that. I think we'll get to that under Twitter. To be honest, we may just have forgotten to remove the description. Mike posted it. But I will say if I would not include it if you can help it. Because especially if the manual image description you put in your post and the image alt text description you put with the photo are the same, it's just redundant information. And that's the main thing, is why not to include a description. If you or a description in the post, if you already have the alt text, it's redundant, and it's just more speech that the screen reader has to read. If you're going through it with the screen reader, and the more information you can get through, the quicker. That's better. It'd be as if every post on Facebook you see, like there was 2 images of the same image. Why do you have 2 images on your post? You just need one. You just needed one of them. Or why is the second paragraph duplicated twice? You don't need it.
That's a good comparison.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. Good question. Great answer. I think it's evolving, and we're doing a better job accessing alt text, I think, now than we ever have, and using it properly.
Yeah.
One
yes,
thing
for
before,
sure.
Yes. And one thing before we move on, I just wanted to let you know, like with LinkedIn, with Facebook, you can go back in and you can change the alt text, or you can add it if it hasn't been on there. And you can also do the same with LinkedIn with the 3 little dots. So I'm not going to demonstrate that due to the time length that we've got left, but I want you to know that that's an option. So I applaud them for doing that. I want to go back to Facebook, and I want to show you a trick, because now that alt text can be added to any photo, if you have had your account open for a while, you have old photos that don't have alt text. So you can go back and add them. So you look at your account, and all of the tabs have different categories, like your post and about your page. And you would go to the tab for photos. When you click on that tab, you're going to have all your photos come up together in a big grid. And there's a little edit icon there in the right-hand corner of each of the photos. This is the most efficient way to approach checking to see if you have alt text, or if you need to change, if it's auto-generated, if you need to, update what's there. It saves you a couple of clicks, and because it takes some time to go through each one. I've been kind of slowly going through ours. So I'll show you what I mean. When you click on the photo, the icon of the pencil, you would go to change alt text. And here it pops up that edit box. You can make the changes you need here, and then just hit save, and it's good. If you come up on an older one that there's nothing there, just remember the photo before you get in there so you can describe it. Otherwise, you have to get back out of that and then see the photo again. Okay. All right. Just my tip in having to maintain this kind of stuff on our end. Let's move into Twitter. Twitter has been doing a great job with accessible posts for quite some time. What I like about that is that they've added now, for folks with vision, a visual clue that there's alt text on a photo. They've also added it to GIFs or GIFs, however you say that. So this little, there's an alt badge on this photo here I'm looking at. It says ALT. And so when should be when you hover over it, it shows the text, or maybe you tap on it. Yeah, yes, that's it. You have to tap on it or tap over it. And so it then pops up that actual description that's in there. And I may have put that photo description in there by accident, the photo description : and then the alt text. That's my bad on that one. But so that's kind of cool that they've done that. But I want to show you how to do that when you're creating from scratch, how to add your alt text. So you're going to open up a tweet and start by what's happening. And I'm saying this is a post for a training session on alt text. And again, you would locate the media button for photos, select that, and then grab your photo, select open. And now with Twitter, down at the bottom, they have a couple of options. You can tag people on Twitter. You can also add a description. I would suggest you go here to add the alt text. You could also go to the edit button right there. And either way, it gets you there, but there's 3 tabs in the edit function for a photo. When you hit that add description, it takes you right to that alt tab. And so the box is already open for you to edit in. It allows you to do up to 1,000 characters. So that's awesome. So if you're, especially when it's a stack of pancakes that looks this delicious, you might want to say a few things. A little bit more than I'm saying here. But so you're going to go ahead and add the alt text. And you have to save this like you do in LinkedIn. There's a save button. And you haven't published it yet. So if you want to finish your tweet, you can. Otherwise, just go ahead and publish that. And Kyle, if you refresh your browser, it should be ready for you.
Stop share, Alt+S, mute, audio, stop,
Okay.
Missouri ad,
Share.
meeting, mute, participants, unmute, currently muted, audio now
There
unmute,
we go. Gotta unmute myself. Gotta hear me talk.
Voting.
Okay, so we're on Twitter here, and
Clickable.
gonna go down by headings again.
clickable banner landmark Twitter link heading level 1,
That's just the main Twitter heading.
main landmark clickable Missouri at heading level 2,
And we're at the Missouri AT page.
4,500
and it's just listing their followers.
Link photo.
And
Link graphic opens profile link clickable.
Some
Button follow
profile
at Missouri
information
at.
here.
Clickable Missouri at. Clickable at Missouri at. Mo at off. Retweet slash blue. Link 320. Link 7. Profile time. Tab selected tweets.
So there's the tweets
Tab
selected
media.
here.
Tab likes. Clickable button unavailable next. Region heading level 1. Clickable visited link Missouri at. Visited link clickable. Visited link Missouri at. Visited link at Missouri at. Link 38 seconds ago.
So this is the first post 38 seconds ago.
Menu button collapse sub-menu more. This is a post for our training session on alt text.
And again, that's the actual tweet text. Same thing Eileen's been posting.
Clickable link 1.
And
link graphic a stack of thick pancakes on a white dish covered in dripping maple syrup.
Again, tells me it's
sausages and the maple. Link graphic syrup container are in the background.
Again, same photo description, photo text, alt text. It tells me it's a graphic.
Clickable button alt.
And after the image description is the alt. That's where the screen reader sees the alt badge for the alt description. Personally, in my opinion, I think it should be more up in the post area.
Button 0 replied.
But it's, again, like Eileen said, it's
Berry
good to have that there. Not only telling sighted people, but if you do come across it and somehow miss the photo description, you can know that it's there. And I will say one thing, particularly with Twitter, is because it's an open platform, third-party clients like Tweetbot, TweetDeck, Twitterific, I can't think of any others off the top of my head, but Twitter has third-party clients, and a lot of them offer filtering. One filter that you can use is don't show me any posts that have images that don't have alt text. And I do know of blind people that have that on. So if your photos / tweets don't have alt text and you're trying to reach blind people on Twitter, they might be filtering your posts out. And I know a lot of blind people that use third-party clients like Twitterific that give them that opportunity. And so that's one interesting complication / benefit, because it does give the user power, but your posts may not be being seen if they don't have alt text on them.
Thank you. That's always helpful to know.
Yep.
Okay. Now, what I want to mention about Twitter and summarize about Twitter is, let me switch the screen. It's a one and done with Twitter. So when you create the photo, you create your post, add your photo, that's when you have to add the alt text. Because when you publish it, that's it. You cannot edit on Twitter any photos that you have present or in the past. You only have the option to delete and start again and do it properly. So keep that in mind with Twitter. Twitter has a scheduling option. I didn't know if you were aware of that. If you have a Twitter account, it would be under these 3 little dots on the left-hand side. There's a list of things you can do with your account, and it's under, let's see, I think it's the Media Studio. This is where all the scheduled tweets would be stored. That's what this is. So you could see these are all scheduled out. So that's what that means. How you get them there. See, I'm sorry, I'm not able to see my browser. How you get them there is you just create an actual tweet. I'm going to close that. Okay, so you actually just create an actual tweet as we did in the first demonstration. And there's a scheduling option on the bottom. It's an icon that when you hover over it, it says schedule. And you're given the option to pick the date and the time. And then you would hit confirm. And it shows up here on the top as you're composing your tweet. It's really easy. It's very smooth. So that's neat about Twitter that you can do that. All right, so let's move on to Pinterest is the next one. Before I demonstrate Pinterest, though, I did want to mention that there are some state agencies and maybe some of you that have Flickr accounts. Flickr is a photo type album account setup, and where you can share your photos with whoever you want individually, or it could be open to the public. This is not a platform that is accessible for photos with alt text. They do not offer that feature. I did have a chat conversation with one of their staff members that handles accessibility. They're aware of that. And their workaround to this is that if you have this type of account, when you add your photo, you need to add a photo description, like I demonstrated with Facebook, when there's not this option to add alt text. And there's an actual pencil icon when you're inserting your photo that you click on, and you can then add a title and a description to your photo, so that at least there's something there that the screen reader can pick up about that photo. So if you have that type of account, I hope that's helpful. All right, so with Pinterest, Pinterest also offers the ability to add alt text. Pinterest offers pins. Pins are put on boards if you're not familiar with how that works. Here's all the pins that we've done. And then how you create one is you start up here with the create option. You create a pin, and it kind of opens up like a template where you can insert your photo, you add a title for your pin, you can add the content of your post or pin, and you can add alt text for your photo. Right here, there's a little gray button that you have to activate, and you can add a website link. And so we are, surprise, surprise, we're going to use the same photo. We're going to use Pancakes with Syrup photo. And here we're going to add a title.
I swear IHOP didn't pay us to do this.
All right, and then I'm just going to write the same thing, test post. And so I'm going to add the alt text. That's how you do it. And this allows you to put in 500 characters. So half of what Twitter did, but that's still generous. There was another one that only had 300. So I thought that was interesting. But anyway, so this is a pretty good sized alt text description, and we haven't even used all the characters. And then you would select the board that you're going to save it to. The board I created, Kyle, for you when you're looking at the boards, it's called Web Accessibility. That's the board that I'm going to publish it in. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and publish it now. And it should be, oops, nope, you can't. It says, sorry, something went wrong. Let's see what, let's see what, I know they like different sizes in their photos all the time, but let's try it again. Pin not found. Well, gosh darn it. Don't they know we're doing this demonstration for everybody live? That's how it goes, right? What if I put it in a different board? Let's try that. Yes, so I put it in the MOET programs board, and that was successful.
Okay.
Mute. Currently.
Now I will say
live trans.
I don't use Pinterest.
Missouri at Missouri at /Twitter Google Chrome.
Twitter.
Missouri. You have stopped MO at Eileen Belton's screen share alert. Meeting Missouri Assistive Technology. Missouri Assistive Technology. Missouri at profile Pinterest.
Okay. I don't use Pinterest. I was happy to hear that they have alt text.
Clickable main landmark.
On their descriptions.
Missouri Assistive Technology heading level 1
Again,
button.
Just moving down by headings.
No next heading.
And there's no headings. Okay. So at this point, because I do actually have, we did go through this in the demo a little bit. I do know that those boards are links. I could either use a down arrow, or I'll could also press K to move by links.
At .mo.gov link button, created link, saved link current page, list, Brook MC, web accessibility, sensory at, education, MO at programs, Missouri Assistive.
And so I clicked on that with enter.
No next heading, MO, no next head, 29 pins 1M.
So 29 pins.
Button collaborators, collection by, visited link Missouri Assistive Technology.
Moving down arrow.
Button share, list with 14 items button similar ideas popular now. Link graphic Missouri. Link Missouri, link graphic technology, link technology, link graphic programming, button link graphic syrup container R, button link
Okay.
graphic ace,
And I had to get past some trending topics similar.
link, button link graphic a stack of thick pan, link programming, button link graphic
So
a stack of thick
it's
pancakes on a white dish covered in dripping maple syrup,
so it's the
sausages and the
same
maple,
alt text we're doing every time. It does tell me it's a graphic.
button link graphic syrup container are in the background,
And
button link graphic breakfast dishes,
it's
breakfast
going to start listing some similar stuff. I will say, as far as side note, as far as the screen reader goes, Pinterest is not the most accessible. It could use some work. It is obviously very visual, and so may not necessarily be a lot of blind people using screen readers on it, but they should do a little bit of work on it. But you can see the post. I don't know where if did you actually add any text in the actual post, or did you only post the image with the alt text?
I think I just said text post. It wasn't much.
button link graphic a stack of link programming.
Okay, yeah, I don't exactly know where that went necessarily, but the image description is there, and the post is there, so got the content we wanted.
Thank you. And then I'm going to jump, interrupt your sharing this and jump back in there. And I know we're going a little bit over 3. We have a few more minutes if y'all can hang in there with us. If you need to leave, we totally understand.
Yeah, and this is being recorded, so you can go back and watch it at your own leisure, or finish the rest of it if you weren't able to stay. But thank you for coming if you had to leave.
Now I jump back into Pinterest because what I wanted to show you, I'm going to open up a pin that we had probably back in 2014 from a conference we did. And this was well before Pinterest offered the alt text feature. And so what I want you to know is you can also go back and edit the photos on Pinterest. And so again, it's the 3 little dots. You're going to edit the pin, and it opens up kind of a similar template. And here is the alt text box. And so it's empty. So I'm just going to go ahead and add some content that I put together previously. And interestingly enough, I learned when talking with Kyle that if you don't spell things properly, it's going to get read out loud that way. Although MOAT's an abbreviation, but so I'm getting a visual clue of things to edit there. So I've taken care of that, and then I'm going to save that. And so now that's stored, that alt text is stored in that photo. So this would be a situation where in this account, I would go back and check on all the photos to make sure they had alt text to do for best practice. But that, I'm going to stop at this point with the demo and turn that over to you, Kyle, for some of the slides we have to finish off the session.
Okay, we're back. Here we go. It's not giving me the... It's not presenting and reading.
It's giving you some grief there, huh? Okay. Well, one of the things while you're
Yeah.
working on that, we talked a little about what would be nice about the future for social media and alt text is to see, you know, that all platforms give the option to edit old photos or previous photos. And also that it be a mandated step when you're posting a photo. It'd be great to see that, not only as an option occasionally, but across the board.
And the last thing we did have was briefly about the ML and AI aspects, particularly with Facebook. As you could kind of see, Facebook does provide some automatic descriptions. They aren't necessarily the best, or they can be outright wrong. And even operating systems like Apple's macOS and Apple's iOS, they will, built into their voiceover screen reader, they can automatically do image detection and basically their version of automatic alt text. And I will say, while it's not perfect either, it is definitely much better because it tends to be a little bit more on the I'm going to write a sentence instead of I'm going to list maybe a bunch of features that might be in this photo. But I will say, obviously, that especially when you're making posts, not only as a person, but especially as a company, you really should be adding alt text if you can, because A, you don't want to leave the AI to think something is in your photo that it's not, and may give the wrong impression, or maybe a bad impression of your company and photo. And particularly on LinkedIn, but also other places, if you're posting as a company, and particularly if you're looking to hire more people with disabilities, if you're not making your LinkedIn posts with pictures have alt text, that blind person may not necessarily want to work at your company or work with you, if you're not doing even some of the basics of accessibility and accessible design and inclusive design. So that's
point.
something to also think about. The
Now,
machine learning and AI is getting good, but it's definitely not perfect, unfortunately.
And Kyle, can I interrupt for a second? We have
Yes.
a hand raised from Claudia.
Yeah.
And Claudia, if you want to unmute and ask a question, you can.
Okay. Thanks, Kyle and Eileen, for all this information. I really appreciate you putting on this workshop. I'm with the Governor's Council on Disability, and we have been for quite some time making sure to add to our newsletter, to websites, to any social media posts, the alt description for photos. I have a question. Sometimes I struggle a little bit how descriptive or how much detail to provide in those. And one example that comes to mind is if we have like let's say a flyer for our program, and in the post we write something about the flyer, be sure to apply for this program by such and such deadline or something. Would it be enough to put in the description image of the or a flyer for the blah 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 program, whatever it is, with a deadline reminder when the text is already, or do I have to type up all the text that's on the flyer? That's always what I'm struggling with.
Yeah, so you have the flyer and you have the post. If the text from the flyer is already in the post, like the date and a link to see more information and the name and all that sort of stuff, I would not necessarily put it again in the description.
Okay.
I mean, you could. May just want to do that just for sake, because someone may repost your image and they might necessarily include all that information too.
That's a good thought.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
I don't know if that alt text though stays. It definitely wouldn't stay if you take it off of Twitter or off of that platform. But yeah, that reshare would be something to consider. But yeah, if you already have it in your post, you don't necessarily need to put it in the put it in the description.
Yeah. And then one thing I've noticed on Twitter, and that's might be a good tip for somebody who will start to use this alt description. If you, for some reason, have a couple of windows or tabs open on your browser and you may copy a post from Facebook to Twitter, and then you go back and you want to copy the alt description from one to the other, if you're not staying on the Twitter tab, it'll go the photo or anything will go away and you have to start over. So it's best if you have two screens, for example, you could have the wording for the alt description on one screen and then have the tab open to where you can toggle back and forth that way. But if you're on the same screen toggling between a couple of tabs and you may have already put in the description and then you want to copy maybe the text you used for another social media platform and you come back and the photo and the description are gone. I've struggled with that a couple of times. So that might be something to think of ahead of time, have the description ready and have the photo or something on one screen if you have two screens, and then use the other screen for your Twitter post and put it in there. So just a thought for other people.
Yeah. And
Thank you.
No
Great
problem.
tip.
And one thing Claudia made me think about too, especially if you're making the same post on Twitter and the same post on Facebook, I think Eileen sort of demonstrated this, but it's good to call out. If you have multiple platforms like that, make sure and have the same description on the same photo that comes across all the platforms. Kind of makes sense, but I just wanted to point that out specifically, and keep track of that too. Like I don't know, probably ways to, I don't know all that marketing and stuff. That's not my thing, but there are probably ways to track all your posts and hopefully keep track of that, and hopefully add alt text and when you save all those posts and things like that, if you do it in some other third-party marketing program. But yeah, make sure your descriptions alt text is the same across everything if you can.
Yep, thank you. I think we'll stop in the PowerPoint, but is there any other questions? I'd be happy to answer anything for you guys. And feel free to unmute if you'd like, or put something in the chat. It's a great time if you're struggling with anything or seem to stumble on stuff, over and over. Feel free to ask.
Yeah, no bad questions. Or dumb questions or anything like that.
I think one of the things I've appreciated over like the 13 years that I've been doing this work is it does get easier. I mean, the platforms are making an effort. So some of the work we were trying to compensate for to add descriptions, they are making it easier for us to do. So that's appreciated from this end anyways.
And I will say they're explore a lot, like look at social media and see, like try and, especially on Twitter, try and see who's doing alt text description out there. Look up, like research it. That's another thing you can do, research it to get some good, see some posts and see how people would describe it. I would say you don't have to be an author to write alt text. It's really not that difficult, and even the most basic description means a lot. Something is better than nothing as long as it's decently accurate and on topic. As you practice it, as you do it more, it'll just get easier and easier. You can describe it more. You'll know what to put in there. Hopefully, get feedback from people of what's good, what's bad.